podcast from CBS Sports.
High drive, center field, hit the wall, grand slam. This is magnificent.
Got a fantasy question? Email fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. Get ready to win your league.
Where fantasy becomes reality.
Now here's Frank, Scott, Chris, and Adam.
Hey. Welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, July 8th. Frank Sample joined by Chris Towers, who is apparently a big fan of jorts. I saw you walk across the room there before we got started, Chris. I didn't know you were a big jorts guy.
Yeah, over the last 2 summers, I've just decided I need more shorts, and I don't necessarily want to buy new shorts. And I live in Brooklyn, so might as well just take a pair of jeans that I don't really wear all that often and slice the legs off. So, you know, I get real Brooklyn in them sometimes. You know, I'll throw on like a tank top, wear my jorts around. It's a good look.
I love that you prefaced all that with "I live in Brooklyn," so you kind of had to let everyone know, like, yeah, I'm a little hip.
Yeah, I'm an obnoxious hipster for sure. I live in Williamsburg.
No,
Frank.
yeah, you don't really have a choice. So you asked for it, Chris. I've done that quite a bit as well. Turn some jeans into shorts. Why not?
The problem is the winter comes and you got no legs on your jeans, and then you're screwed.
You strike me as a guy who just wears shorts like all year round.
I have become one of the guys who, like, when it's 58 degrees outside, there was definitely one day like in March where it got up to like 59 degrees. And it was my day off. I'm off on Fridays, and I decided to just go for a long bike ride and was riding around, went to a bar over in Greenpoint. And everybody else, like, I still saw people with jackets and like a couple of scarves, and I'm out in like t-shirts and shorts. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'm getting a little too overzealous, but like, it was the first time I could conceivably wear shorts all year. And I was getting awfully pale. So I looked at an old video, an old one of our shows, and I was so pale. So I had to get my tan on a little bit too.
Well, at least you don't look like a dancing lobster like I do. Today on the podcast, we're going to do some fill in the blank. Would you rather? I have a buy high outfielder, some of your Apple Podcast review and email questions, and more. But let's start by recapping some of Wednesday's action.
Oh my goodness gracious.
All right, Chris, where would you like to start? Oh my goodness gracious, a standout from Wednesday.
Oh boy. You first.
Yeah,
I want to know where you go, because I was up to stuff before the show. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I usually ask you beforehand. I didn't do it today. So bad host, Frank.
Actually, you know what? Sonny Gray.
All right.
How about that? There was interesting detail out of that start. He went 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 hits, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks. Interesting detail that I saw from this game. It doesn't really matter, but just to show that despite my surprise at the question you ask us every day, I did prepare for the show. Sonny Gray, apparently, in the middle of his start, went to the locker room, took off all his clothes, changed them, except for his cleats, went back, and I believe retired every batter he faced over the final 3 innings of the outing, including striking out the side in the 7th. So there you go. Sonny Gray did not like his clothes, explains why he wasn't great to start, and came back, and he's been really good in 2 starts since coming back from the IL. 16 swinging strikes today on 99 pitches. Velocity hasn't quite been what it was before the IL, and there's been some swing rate stuff with him as well, but at least 3 swinging strikes on every single one of his pitches except for the 4-seam fastball. He was throwing the slider, curve, and change pretty regularly tonight, and I don't know. I know we've been skeptical about him, but he's been pretty good this season when he's been healthy.
Yeah, he has. And you're right. We kind of haven't given Sonny Gray the respect that he deserves. And if you span things back over his last 5 starts, he only has 5 walks during that span. And when Sonny Gray gets in trouble, it's with the control or lack of control. So the fact that, he's been much better in that department, 5 walks over his last 5 starts for Sonny Gray, definitely step in the right direction here. This was
He actually has his lowest walk rate now since 2017. So how about that? 8.9%. Last year it was 11.1. He has his highest strikeout rate ever and his lowest walk rate of the last 4 years. He's got a 3.53 xERA to go with the 3.27 ERA. So I don't know. Been pretty good. You know, you'd like to see more innings, but other than that, pretty good.
Yeah,
I was done after that. It sounded like I had more to say. I'm sorry.
Admittedly, I'm awful at that. Like, knowing when you guys are done with your sentence, I am very bad. I listen back to every podcast after I edit it, and I'm just like, why don't I just start talking after they stop talking? And half the time, I just don't know if you guys are done talking. But yeah, Sonny Gray, he's been very good. I think we should probably, I got him at SP 42. I think I've got to move him up the ranks quite a bit there. I think I can get him up to SP 34, just behind Ryu, Max Fried, Ian Anderson. That seems like a good range for Sonny Gray. Oh my goodness gracious, for me, I want to talk about Chris Paddack. And specifically, I'll talk about Chris Paddack and Eduardo Rodriguez because they have great underlying numbers. And maybe you know more about this than I do, Chris, because I just can't figure it out for the life of me. The fact that these guys are like, they have ERAs over 5, but their underlying numbers are much better. I mean, we're talking about like XFIP, Sierra in the mid 3s, something like that. So we'll try and figure it out. But Chris Paddack, just an awful start. I was watching it up against the Nationals, 2 innings, 9 hits, 9 runs, 8 of those were earned. Doesn't really matter anyway. 7 hard hit balls. He's now failed to complete 3 innings in 2 of his last 3 starts. Chris Paddack has 5.40 ERA. He had nothing in the start. No command, any of his pitches, fastball, changeup, curveball, which his curveball, he's been throwing it more recently, which it seems like it's kind of been helping the underlying numbers, but overall, it's been a mess for Chris Paddack. And then Eduardo Rodriguez, if you want to throw him kind of in the same conversation, 5 innings, 9 hits, 4 runs against the Angels, still had 15 swinging strikes. His ERA is at 5.52. His xFIP is 3.38 for Eduardo Rodriguez. So why is this happening, Chris, where the surface numbers for both of these guys are awful? The underlying numbers are still very good.
Yeah, I mean, with Paddack, like the FIP is 3.78, the xFIP is 3.62. So, you know, that's certainly better than what his ERA is. But his expected ERA is now it's up to
it's over 4.
Yeah, it's over. Well, it was over 4 coming into this start. Which is, you know, it's 4.12. So that's not particularly good. You know, he is actually throwing the curveball a lot more lately. Like you said, it's been around 10% in a bunch of his recent starts. The problem is the changeup and the fastball have been pretty mediocre. The curveball's actually been great for him. He has a 174 x WOBA, 164 WOBA, 50% whiff rate. Those are excellent numbers for a guy who didn't have that third pitch. And we always thought if he could get that third pitch, he was going to take a huge step forward. And the changeup, you know, it hasn't been a bad pitch, but like the whiff rate is 31.8%. That's fine. The xWOBA allowed is 311. Again, that's fine, but they're not, you know, that's not what we've come to expect from this pitch, especially when it comes to the contact suppression. And I don't know. I don't know where I'm at on Paddack right now. I think I'm still pretty pessimistic. Just because, I don't know, he just feels like kind of an average strikeout guy, an average quality of contact guy. The whole package just kind of seems fine to me. And yeah, like, I mean, the control is very good, but you know, overall you look at you put it all together and it's just like, I don't know what he does that's special anymore. And that's a difficult thing to get around.
What if I told you before this start for Chris Paddack, his last 5 starts, he had a 2.58 xFIP during that span, 11.3 K per 9, 1.7 walks per 9, and a 14% swinging strike rate. You would think that's a pretty good pitcher, albeit a small sample size, 5 starts, but
yeah,
we're kind of grasping at anything here to figure out, you know, where is Chris Paddack? What is going on with him? So does this 5-start stretch before this matter? These numbers?
Yeah. Gosh, it's hard to say. Like I said, at this point, I'm pretty pessimistic. Especially because the 2 starts before this one, the strikeout rate had been, much lower, below 20% in both starts. So it just, he had like that flash where it was like 2 starts against the Mets where he struck out a bunch of guys, the 1 start against Cincinnati. But for the most part, the strikeouts just haven't been there all season. I don't know. I wish I had answers. I wish I could tell you with a strong degree of certainty one way or the other about Paddack. But, if I'm being honest, it's mostly just, if I had to guess, I think he's just going to be an average pitcher moving forward.
Yeah, which is probably something in the high 3s, low 4s ERA kind of range. Yeah. I think both of these guys, like, they're obviously not must-start pitchers anymore. Keep them on your bench, maybe play them in the right matchups. But we do have some fill in the blanks later on, Chris. How about this one? Chris Paddack can be dropped in blank leagues.
I think 10 team points leagues.
10 teams.
He definitely can be.
But not 12 teams you're going to hold on to Chris Paddack for now.
I probably would. And I'll be honest, you're grouping Paddack and Rodriguez together, and I get it. I still have a lot more confidence in Rodriguez. He actually has his best xERA of his career. He has still very good quality of contact numbers. He's really not getting hit very hard. Lowest walk rate of his career, highest strikeout rate of his career. You put it all together, and somehow the sum is less than the parts, but the parts are all individually so good, and there's nothing really alarming for Eduardo Rodriguez that, I have to imagine. I'm not looking at Fangraphs, but I have to imagine his BABIP is very high given everything else. 361. Like he's a 305 BABIP guy for his career. He's not someone who has typically struggled in that regard. Home runs have been a little bit of an issue, but he should be much better than he has been. And I feel more confident that he will be than Paddack, partially because he's also just pitching more,
Yeah, no, I think two of the more frustrating starting pitchers this season between Paddack and Eduardo Rodriguez. Definitely don't mind keeping them on the bench for now. Last one, Chris, would you drop Chris Paddack for any of the 3 starting pitchers we mentioned from our weekend review? That would include Logan Gilbert, Joe Ross, Zach Thompson.
In a 10-team league, I'd be fine with it. In a 12-team league, I would hope I have someone with less upside, but I feel like I've said that same exact sentence about Chris Paddack just about every time we've talked about him since the start of last season. And he hasn't really done more than 3 or 4 starts in a row where he's really shown that upside. So I'm starting to question whether he still has it.
I think that is definitely fair to question at this point. Before we hit news and notes, we are finalists for the sports category of the People's Choice Podcast Awards. We appreciate all you guys do for us and hope you enjoy our show enough to nominate us to advance to the final round. To nominate Fantasy Baseball today, go to podcastawards.com/app/signup and then toggle down the sports category. We've included the link in the episode description as well. And just a reminder that our live YouTube Q&A stream is back this Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And Chris, you don't know this yet, but Scott is still on vacation, so going to need you for the whole hour there, bud, from 7 to 8 p.m. We will act as your pregame appetizer to the Home Run Derby, which has officially been filled out. Shohei Ohtani, Pete Alonso, Joey Gallo, Juan Soto, Trevor Story, Matt Olson, Trey Mancini, and Salvador Perez. And also within that live stream, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a derby draft, Chris. So we'll draft 4 players each. We'll figure out who gets the first pick somehow. But yeah, 4 hitters each. Whoever, I guess we could do most home runs between the 2 of us, or whoever has the winner. We'll figure it out. We'll come up with like some kind of fun wager. 6-pack or a beer. You owe me a beer. I owe you a beer, something like that. Anyway, drop a comment on this YouTube video with who you think is going to win the Home Run Derby. I'm not talking to you, Chris. I'm talking to everyone else that's like watching or listening. Drop a comment on this video. Who you think is going to win the Home Run Derby, and your Twitter handle One person who picks the winner will receive a free 1-year subscription to Sportsline, our gambling and DFS service. Look, Chris is wearing the Sportsline shirt. I didn't even tell him to do that. That is a $100 value. Don't miss out. Just leave a comment. You mentioned you have thoughts, Chris?
I've got thoughts. Maybe we can save them for another time, but I've got thoughts on the home run derby and what kind of player is going to benefit from the thin air and Coors Field. And I'm not going to go. I don't think I'm going to pick the favorites in this one. I'm not sure yet, but I think I want to go with like a wild card here.
Interesting. I'm going to have to do some Coors Field research myself, but I am wearing
it's not based on any research, by the way.
I am wearing a Texas Rangers hat myself, so that might give you a little bit of an inkling of where I'm leaning at this point.
He's a pretty good pick.
News and notes from Wednesday. Clayton Kershaw, out of nowhere, huge blow here, was placed on the IL with left forearm inflammation. And Kershaw currently has a 3.39 ERA, 0.98 whip, career high 16.3% swinging strike rate. There is no timetable for Clayton Kershaw's return at this time. And this, I think, all but ensures David Price will be stretched out for the rotation between this injury. Obviously, everything that's going on with Trevor Bauer. David Price is 21% rostered, Chris. Any league size that you're looking to add David Price if this actually happens?
Yeah, I mean, before the season, he was someone who I liked quite a bit before we knew he was going to be in the bullpen because his 4.28 ERA in 2019, it doesn't tell quite the whole story of how good he was because he had that wrist issue, right at the end of his run. But before his last, 4 starts, he had a 3.16 ERA with a bunch of strikeouts, and he was pitching consistently deep into games. That was a really weird season for David Price because he got thrown out of a couple of games for throwing at people, and I don't know. It was strange, but he was pitching really well before then, and his numbers this season, albeit in a bullpen role, have been quite good despite a very, very high BABIP. So I do still think he can be effective. I don't know if he's going to be a must-start guy, but if you need a Kershaw replacement and that, Gilbert, Thompson, Joe Ross group, I think he's right there with those guys. Maybe a little more reliable.
Yeah, I think I would still rank him behind those guys. But, if he pitches the way that he's pitched this year, 3.58 ERA, all of the underlying numbers are basically right in line with that. The ERA indicators, a 1.66 whip for David Price, 402 BABIP, 12 hits per 9. The guy's just been super lucky in terms of batting average on balls in play this year. Getting unlucky. A lot of balls. Yeah, unlucky. That's what I'm looking for. But yeah, I'd be interested in David Price in any deeper leagues where those pitchers we mentioned are already rostered. Vidal Brujan's first career plate appearance resulted in an RBI single, a stolen base, and a run scored. So basically flashing everything that you should be excited about for Vidal Brujan in his first plate appearance. He did just finish 1 for 6 across the doubleheader against Cleveland. He started at second base in the first game, right field in the second game. He was sent down after the games, but don't be alarmed. Brujan is expected back on Friday. Chris, you were not on the podcast yesterday when we talked about Brujan getting called up. Anything that you would like to add on him?
He should be good when he gets the call. Obviously, we know this hasn't been a great season for rookies, and a lot of high-profile guys have struggled. Maybe he'll be the next one, but if he is back up within the next couple of days, I think you kind of have to add him because the skill set figures to be so valuable for fantasy purposes that I would definitely hang on to him.
Yeah, Vidal Brujan. Scott made the high-end comp of Whit Merrifield, which I actually think is pretty good. A little bit of pop, good batting average, a lot of speed, 80 grade speed. Vidal Brujan, 50% rostered, should be rostered in all categories leagues at this point. 12-team head-to-head categories, roto, head-to-head points. I don't think you have to rush out and get him, but definitely in any categories league where you need speed. Shohei Ohtani went 2 for 4 with his 32nd home run of the year. That's 32 before the All-Star break. Now has the most home runs in a season by a Japanese-born player, passing Hideki Matsui, which Matsui had 31 in a full season.
Did you see the other stat about Shohei Ohtani? He's the first player in Major League history with 32 homers and 12-plus stolen bases before the All-Star break, which, a bit of arbitrary endpoints there, but That's still pretty impressive.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I did not see that stat. Another one that I saw is this is the most home runs before the All-Star break since Chris Davis with a C. I think he had 37 back in 2013 with the Baltimore Orioles. So nice, some awesome stats there for Shohei Ohtani. Ozzy Albies exited as a precaution with neck tightness. Please be okay. I have you in a few leagues where you have been awesome. Chris Bryant left with hamstring tightness, and since the start of June, the guy has just been completely lost. So hopefully the All-Star break can help get Chris Bryant back on track. Steven Strasburg took part in a heavy workout on Tuesday, one day after throwing 60 pitches in a bullpen session, and Nationals manager Dave Martinez said he was, quote, getting close to a rehab assignment. I would be pleasantly surprised to get anything from Steven Strasburg this season, but sounds like maybe the All-Star break soon thereafter could get him back in the Nationals rotation. The Red Sox pitching coach Dave Bush said that Chris Sale won't be activated from the 60-day IL until he's stretched out to throw 5 to 6 innings. So sounds like he could go on a rehab assignment. Maybe he
this
starts
weekend.
Yeah,
I saw
weekend.
he could be with the Woo Sox, which
The
is
Woo
apparently a thing. But yeah, I would expect he's going to get something close to that. I think it's 30-day minimum or 30-day maximum that pitchers can get on their rehab. I would guess it's going to be something close to that.
Yeah, I think it's probably 4 to 5 starts, something like that for Chris Sale. I think that makes sense for him on his rehab assignment. Eddie Rosario did indeed land on the IL with that abdominal strain. Daniel Johnson started in Cleveland's outfield. At AAA this season, he had 9 homers and 6 steals, albeit with a .218 batting average. So some power and speed, very low batting average for Daniel Johnson. Jose Urquidy said Wednesday he'll remain shut down from throwing for at least 2 weeks. He's on the IL with shoulder discomfort. Yasmani Grandal had successful surgery and is expected to return later this season for the White Sox. Remember Julian Merriweather on the Blue Jays? Yeah, that guy. He got their first couple of saves. He actually looked awesome. Well, he had another setback and with his left oblique strain. So we're not going to see him anytime soon. It's been a long time anyway. Domingo Herman was scratched from Wednesday's start after he underwent an emergency root canal. Ouch. Gleyber Torres was back in the lineup for the Yankees. Carlos Martinez went to the IL with a torn ligament in his right thumb. Jake Arrieta to the IL with right hamstring tightness. Michael Franco to the IL with right ankle soreness. Daz Cameron to the IL with that right toe sprain. And Trevor Rosenthal will undergo surgery next week to repair. It would be nice if I knew how to read. A torn labrum in his right hip and will miss the rest of the 2021 season. Lou Trevino's job is safe for now. A few players that were not in the lineup because of various injuries: Javier Baez, Tyler O'Neill, Odubel Herrera, and Josh Donaldson. Fill in the blank. Let's have some fun. Corbin Burns. He was at the Mets on Wednesday. 5 2/3, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. He only had 10 swinging strikes. So that now makes 4 straight starts where Corbin Burns has had 12 swinging strikes or less. He does have a 2.61 ERA during that stretch. But his first 11 starts, Corbin Burns had an 18% swinging strike rate. So quite a bit of a disparity there. Chris, fill in the blank. I would trade Corbin Burns for blank hitter.
Trying to find. Okay, yeah. This is a purpose of not very much, but I still found it very interesting. Corbin Burns has underperformed his expected ERA this season by nearly 3/4 of a run. Isn't that amazing? Underperformed.
So
He has a 169 expected ERA this season.
Wow. That's wild.
176 after today's start. Excuse me.
That is wild.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's still really, really doing a great job of, limiting hard contact. He's still doing a really, really good job of, relatively speaking, especially to where he used to be, of not giving up walks. So I still think he's a really, really valuable fantasy option. I've got him right behind Whit Merrifield and Rafael Devers. I mean, if I could get those guys for him, I would do it. But otherwise, he's in the JD Martinez, Francisco Lindor, Kyle Tucker range. And I think I'd rather have him than those guys.
The first name that came to mind to me for some reason was Aaron Judge. And I think Judge is probably in a similar range as all of those hitters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Yordan Alvarez is fun right now, but he's been awesome. So I don't know if you're going to be able to make that happen, but I think it's a fair trade. I think Burns for Yordan Alvarez makes a lot of sense there as well. And Burns remains in my top 10 starting pitchers. He's 9th for me. He's 9th for Scott, one spot behind Garrett Cole. Who knows? Maybe that changes a little bit soon. I've dropped Garrett Cole down quite a bit. Chris, you still have Corbin Burns as your 6th ranked starting pitcher. So yes, you should.
Yeah, I'm not really that worried about him.
Yeah.
I know the spin rate's down, but for the most part, he's still been excellent.
Yeah. The biggest thing is just that the swinging strike rate has taken a huge dip over his last 4 starts. So maybe it affects the strikeouts, and obviously that means more balls in play, and more balls in play just means things can happen, obviously. So keep that in mind. But Corbin Burns still a top 10 starting pitcher, despite the swinging strike rate being down. Casey Mize, he was at the Texas Rangers on Wednesday. 4 innings, 2 runs, 2 strikeouts. Pretty mad game overall. Spin rates and velocity both way down in the start. I didn't see that he came away from this with anything wrong with him, but velocity
it was just a pitch limitation, I think.
Yeah, the velocity was down between 1.5 and 3 miles per hour on all of his pitches. And speaking of those pitches, Casey Mize has now averaged 53 pitches per start over his last 2. So I think we're starting to see some of those limitations that the Tigers hinted at earlier in the season. He's still 82% rostered, Chris. Casey Mize can be dropped in blank size leagues.
12-team roto.
Okay, so
I think there are things to like about Casey Mize moving forward. There have been things to like about him this season, but the underlying numbers have not backed up his performance pretty much all season. He still doesn't get very many strikeouts. I think you probably missed your opportunity to sell high on him. But if somebody still thinks he has value, I would be looking to get something for him because, I think he's droppable.
Yeah, look, if people are not paying attention to what's happening right now, and obviously what we've talked about all season with Casey Mize, he still has a 3.59 ERA. So if someone sees that and they're willing to give you some kind of value for him in a trade, then you don't have to drop him. Turn him around for something. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously going to severely affect his fantasy value moving forward with these limitations. This one's more of a multiple choice question, Chris, but Jared Walsh had a double dong. He's now up to 22 home runs. Both of those home runs came off of lefties. One was Eduardo Rodriguez. And entering today, Jared Walsh had a 528 OPS against lefties this season. So that was part of the reason that recently, I don't know if you've been on any of the podcasts where I brought it up, Chris, but I've been talking Jared Walsh up as a sell high candidate. And he just completely continues to make me look ridiculous because hits a grand slam off of Aroldis Chapman. He's doing this.
Anyone can hit a grand slam off Aroldis Chapman at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, the ground balls and strikeouts have been up. So that's part of the reason why I viewed Jared Walsh as a sell high candidate. So for you, the question is, Jared Walsh is a buy, sell, or hold candidate rest of season?
I think he's definitely sell. He had, at least coming into this start, I'm not sure about afterwards, he had the highest gap between his expected WOBA and his actual WOBA this season among qualified hitters. And that's not to say he's been bad. It's just that, he has a 341 expected WOBA and he's got like a 375 or something actual WOBA. And that's a gap that at some point I think is going to narrow. I think he's a good hitter, but I don't think he's going to keep slugging 571. I think he's probably maybe 100 points over his head on that. I think he's probably more like a 260 hitter. And so, I think if you can sell high for him, I think he's still a top 12 starting first baseman, but if somebody views him as more than that, take advantage of that.
So I was going to save this for later on, but let's talk about it now. I guess we can compare these two. And someone I think is a buy high candidate is Teoscar Hernandez, because, and I brought this up, I think a month or two ago, that even then I thought he was a buy high candidate, and he just kind of continues to perform. He went 3 for 5 on Wednesday. He's batting 297, and that super high line drive approach that he had from last year has carried over. He's got a near 30% line drive rate. He would rank 3rd among qualified hitters. Actually, he does. He is qualified. So he ranks 3rd in that category. Line drive rate for Teoscar Hernandez. Strikeouts are down. Career best 25% strikeout rate. Chris, if you can turn Jared Walsh into Teoscar Hernandez, is that something you would do, or would you try and shoot higher if you have Jared Walsh?
I mean, the most impressive thing about it is the way he's dramatically increased his swing rate on pitches inside of the strike zone without increasing his chase rate, which is, pretty tough to do. That requires actually improving your plate discipline. That's not just being more aggressive. And he's dramatically lowered his whiff rate. It's down from 35% to 31.5% this season. And he's done it without necessarily having to sacrifice some of the quality of contact skills that, were so standout last season. He's not quite where he was last season, but if you can cut your strikeout rate from 30 to 25%, you can get away with that. And so, yeah, his xWOBA is actually a little higher than his WOBA. I think there could be some room for him to get even better moving forward, which is, that's saying something. He's been pretty good. I think we're all taking an L on that one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, a lot of the Blue Jays that I specifically talked down as busts coming, more so overvalued coming into the season. Teoscar Hernandez, Bo Bichette, ridiculous. Marcus Semien, the same. They've all made me look completely foolish. So I will admit
that team's got a lot of guys hitting like their 90th percentile right now. So, if you're into futures bets, taking the under on second half wins may not be a bad idea. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I think it all starts and ends with Vlad Jr., right? So like the fact that Vlad is performing at this kind of historic pace, it's helped everybody in that lineup because, just keep things chugging along. And obviously Marcus Semien too. It's just, he's been ridiculous as well. But, honestly, looking at the overall numbers right now for Teoscar Hernandez, they still don't look that impressive. 291 batting average, 11 home runs. You might be able to sell Jared Walsh for Teoscar Hernandez plus another piece. So Teoscar is someone that I do like as a buy high candidate right now.
Would love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on from Jared Walsh here. Sell high candidate. Thank you for confirming that, Chris. Let's check in on Wander Franco. 231 batting average at this point in the season, 9% walk rate, 16% strikeout rate. He is hitting a good amount of line drives. He has a 7% swinging strike rate. Mind you, he's 20 years old? That 7% swinging strike rate would rank 19th among qualified hitters this season. So we don't normally see prospects like this, and that's part of the allure for Wander Franco. So, Chris, fill in the blank. I feel blank about Wander Franco.
Pretty good. He's been largely as advertised. He's not chasing hardly at all. 21% chase rate, 74% zone swing rate. He's making a lot of contact. Has just an 18% whiff rate. League average is 25%. So, I think there's a lot of good going on, and he's got a 44% hard hit rate, which is pretty good as well. It's, a little above league average. And so, I think you look at all the component parts and it's largely what we expected. I do wonder, I want to take a look at his splits and see if he's been really bad against right-handed pitching. 346 OPS heading into today compared to an 1144 versus lefties. And if you look at his spray chart, it's a lot of stuff to the left of the field. So, I'm not sure necessarily what to make of that. We've seen like Ozzie Albies, I don't want to say struggle, but, maybe be a little bit disappointing at times because he was, much better against lefties than righties. I don't know if it's the same thing for Wander Franco. It certainly wasn't in 2019 when he had a 921 OPS against righties. So, we're still so early on that a lot can change, but I think generally speaking, the early returns on Wander Franco are much more promising than they were for Jared Kelenic, let's say.
Wander Franco this season in the minors as well was batting over 300 against both-handed pitching, had a 900 OPS or better against both-handed pitching. So I'm with you. I feel fine about Wander Franco right now. And if someone in your league is like, oh man, just another rookie who stinks, go out and try and acquire him in redraft leagues. Hyunjin Ryu, someone who has, we had some concerns heading into the start because he had just a 7% swinging strike rate over his previous 6 starts entering Wednesday. Goes out against the Orioles, 5 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. It's actually pretty impressive because the Orioles are awesome against left-handed pitching this year. 14 swinging strikes in this one on 86 pitches. That's a 16% swinging strike rate for Ryu. So nice little bounce back here. Chris, Hyunjin Ryu is a top blank starting pitcher rest of season.
Oh, gosh, I think I still have him in like the 30-ish range. One thing that he did a lot in this start, he threw his fastball a lot, 49% of the time. He's throwing his fastball more than he has at any point since, 2017. And that's still only 33%. So he was very fastball heavy tonight. I don't know if maybe that made the changeup and cutter play up a little better because hitters were seeing it less often. His velocity was up in this start. So I don't know exactly what to make of it, but I he'd been sub 2.5 ERA over the previous 3 seasons that I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt.
All right. So top 30-ish starting pitcher there for Hyunjin Ryu. I have him at 33, just behind Max Fried, Ian Anderson, Sonny Gray probably deserves to be in that range again, which I mentioned. I can't get him inside my top 30 right now just because I feel like Robbie Ray still has more upside. Luis Castillo pitching much better. Kyle Hendricks is a lot like Ryu. I'll say top 35. Top 35 starting pitcher for Ryu rest of season. Last one here, Chris. My favorite chocolate bar is blank. Do you have a favorite? Put you on the spot.
I guess it depends. How are we defining chocolate bar? Is this any bar with a base of chocolate or like a Hershey's or a Crunch, Because if it's the former, Reese's Fast Break is my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
If it's the latter, there's this brand called Tony's Chocolonely that I always find at Whole Foods. And they've got a milk caramel sea salt, milk chocolate caramel and sea salt bar that is out of this world. So good. So those are my 2 picks.
Well, I'm all about the sweet and savory, so I've got
love a sweet and savory.
Got to jump on that. For me, Reese's Nutrageous, man. It's just like it's not very popular, kind of just flies under the radar, but it is amazing. Whole bunch of peanuts covered in chocolate. I don't even know what it's loaded up with, but man, it is.
Is that nougat or peanut butter in the middle?
I think it's, let's see here. Wow,
that's an important distinction for me.
You could buy a whole case of these things on Amazon. I might get myself in trouble here. All right. Hey, it's made with milk chocolate, loaded with crunchy roasted.
Oh, it is peanut butter.
Smooth rich caramel. That's what it is. It's caramel.
That's pretty good.
And the famous taste of Reese's peanut butter.
I might have to check that out. That looks pretty good.
I'm not like super into peanut butter. I like it here and there, but man, that thing is ridiculous. The Reese's Nutrageous. Make sure to go check it out. Before we get to some more of Wednesday's action, we have to tell you about the awesome clothing from Express. Express Confidence, Express You. Express is all new and all about you with a fresh mix of casual, versatile, and super comfortable styles. We've talked about a bunch of their different styles this week, but maybe you just need something to wear for the summer. Maybe you need some jorts. Heading out to the park, a cookout, a baseball game, whatever it is, head to Express. They offer 4 kinds of shorts with their chinos, performance, drawstring, and denim. There you go, Chris. Specifically for the drawstring shorts, they have this elastic waistband for all-day comfort. And up top, I can't recommend their polo shirts enough. Maybe you're looking for a solid color, but if not, they have these super stylish polos with floral print, whole bunch of flowers all over them. I've got a few myself.
It's a good look.
They're super unique because they kind of just feel like you're wearing a t-shirt. Some polos, they come with like this rougher material. They're like super heavy, hard to wear in the summertime. That's not the case for the Express polos. They're like just very thin, awesome fabric where it's just very comfortable. The softest fabrics actually you'll ever feel. And the shirts fit just right to your body. It doesn't even feel like you're wearing a shirt. It's awesome. make sure to head on over to express.com. We encourage all of our listeners to be on the lookout for great summer deals in stores and again at their website, express.com. Express confidence, express you. We are going to take a quick break, but when we return, would you rather? We've got some scenarios we'd like to talk about next on Fantasy Baseball Today.
Frank, hold on. Before we start,
What's up?
did you see John Sterling's home run call today?
Oh, no. No, I didn't. I did not see it. I did not hear it. Do you want to play it for the people? Is that possible? I don't even know if we can do that.
I might be able to play it. Let's see.
I can already, I feel the emails just ringing in. People complaining about
people who don't like the Yankees will enjoy it.
All right, what do we got here?
You gotta hold on.
I'm gonna add it to the stream.
All right, here we go.
If you press play, let's see if it actually comes through here. Does it? I'm not getting any audio.
All right. So
is this the Aaron Judge home run? Throw it in the private chat. I could play it off my computer.
Yeah, it's
and Chris is gone. So we're going to figure that out. Play the John Sterling call for the Aaron Judge. His home run on Wednesday was an absolute moon rocket. 434 feet off the bat for Aaron Judge. There he is. He's back. What's up, Chris?
I was trying to figure out how to stop sharing my screen and I backed out of the studio entirely.
Oh, man. All right. So if you throw the link in the private chat, I'll figure out a way to play it.
It's excellent. The people who hate the Yankees will appreciate this. This is not, Frank being indulgent.
All right, so let's see what we got here.
Man, the breaking ball is hit in the air to deep left. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. Unfortunately, that was a replay of the home run. That was a good replay.
So they're in New York watching the game in the studio and announcing it.
Oh man.
And so he didn't realize that it was that's funny.
Oh my gosh. There was another one recently where someone, I forgot who it was, when they were playing against the Mets, it was someone hit I think it was like Jose Peraza, hit like a would-be grand slam, but a fan reached over and caught it. I was listening to it on the radio while I was on vacation, and he's just like, "Where'd the ball go?" He's like, "It's high, it's deep. Where'd the ball go?" So it's just classic John Sterling. I'm not going to lie. I kind of got duped too while I was watching the game. I was like, wait, did Aaron Judge just hit another home run? So it's very easy to fall for it. Would you rather? That's what I have in common with, I believe he's 80 years old. 80 years old, John Sterling. Still getting it done there. Would you rather Andrew McCutchen or Michael Conforto? Kutch just hit another home run, 79% rostered. So might be out there in some 10-team leagues. Last 30 games for McCutchen, 295 batting average, 7 homers, 25 RBI. Michael Conforto just 3 for 38 since coming off of the IL. Would you rather McCutchen or Conforto?
I still think I would have to go Conforto. I still think he's a good buy low candidate. And I think the underlying numbers, while they're not quite as good as they were last season, they're still much better than what he's done. And actually, that is true of McCutchen as well. His underlying numbers, especially, ex-Wobus 366, Wobus 344. The problem is he really isn't very good against righties anymore.
He has been better. Scott has pointed this out. I don't know how to look at splits within months, but he figured out a way to do it. And since June, where McCutchen has really taken off, he's also been much better against right-handed pitching.
Okay.
Like a near 900 OPS since the start of June.
That would be worthwhile if he could keep doing that. And, like his BABIP against righties is really low for the season, but it's still 670 OPS, still like a 160 slug. So it's like a very OBP heavy success against righties, at least, when he has had it overall. So I would still go with Conforto, but I know that probably doesn't feel good right now, knowing how much Conforto struggled.
Yeah, I like buying Conforto on the super cheap. I think you can get him for next to nothing right now and just stash him on your bench until he figures it out. I believe Conforto's in a contract year too. I can't imagine he's going to continue to be this bad. He's too talented to be this bad, Michael Conforto. But I would take McCutchen over him right now. The way that Kutch is playing, the home run that he hit in this game was off of a right-handed pitcher, Alec Mills. So, all right, does it even count? But anyway, I would take McCutchen the way that he's playing. He's red hot. His last 30 games, what I mentioned, That 150 game pace, 35 homers, 125 RBI, 15 steals. The guy is just on fire. Jonathan India or Jeff McNeil? Let's stick with the Mets here. Jeff McNeil has multiple hits in 3 of his last 5 games. Is coming around a little bit, 79% rostered. So some people have been dropping him. Jonathan India, another great game, 3 for 4, walk, double, 2 RBI, 76% rostered. Chris, would you rather India or McNeil?
Man, I would still rather have McNeil, but it's getting really close. India, the fact that he steals a decent amount does help him in that regard. Like, he could be a 15 steal guy this season, whereas, McNeil, it's a batting average play. But I think that skill is stronger than anything that Jonathan India has shown. The underlying statistics don't quite back up what India has done as far as his batting average so far. And so, if he was hitting more like 250, like his XBA suggests, then you're looking at a sort of middling all-around profile, whereas at least McNeil does have still that standout skill.
I do like the OBP for Jonathan India. He walks quite a bit, leading off for a solid lineup with the Cincinnati Reds. He's got a lot of run producers behind him in that lineup. Could run a little bit. I think it's close. Basically, you're banking on Jeff McNeil going on this super hot stretch like he always does in the second half of seasons. He's a very slow starter. Obviously, has come back from the IL recently. It is close. I think I would lean with Jonathan India, but it is very close.
I think that makes sense.
With Jeff McNeil, a lot like Conforto, if you can buy him on the super cheap, some people are dropping him. It's something I would look into doing. Next one here, and I think we did this one earlier on in the season too, but Alex Wood or Kyle Gibson? Rest of season, Kyle Gibson up against the Tigers, 6 1/3, 5 runs. It was actually his first start with more than 3 earned runs allowed since opening day. That's how good Kyle Gibson has been this season. It's absolutely ridiculous. The Tigers, by the way, and I brought this up recently, they are 10th in weighted on base average over the last 30 days. They are no longer an easy matchup like we thought earlier on in the season. So just keep that in mind when looking at the Detroit Tigers as a matchup. But Alex Wood was up against the Cardinals, and he had a really, really strong bounce back performance here. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. So, Chris, would you rather Alex Wood or Kyle Gibson?
I'll just go with the cop-out answer and say Gibson and Roto, Wood in head-to-head points where he's SPARP eligible.
Boo. Cop-out, Chris.
I mean, I think they're more likely than not to be high 3s ERAs guys moving forward. So, you can flip a coin on them, but I will give Wood the edge in head-to-head points leagues at the very least. Certainly don't buy what Kyle Gibson's doing with the, still, okay, it's 2.29 now. It's not sub 2 anymore, but the xERA is more like mid 3s, and I think it'll go up from there. So I think moving forward, they're going to be very similar. So Wood gets the edge at least in points because of that SPARP eligibility.
Yeah, I do think it's very close. Wood has been a lot more rocky recently than Kyle Gibson has. I think Gibson's more durable too. It's close. I'll take Kyle Gibson just in a vacuum. I do think both are still sell high candidates if you can. This is actually a question that I got asked on Twitter today, and I thought it was interesting. Brendan Rodgers or Willy Adames in Dynasty, with a caveat there. So Willy Adames went 1 for 4 with his 14th home run. And if we update those numbers since joining the Brewers, that's 44 games, 289 batting average, 9 homers, 30 RBI. That is a 30 home run pace over 150 games for Willy Adames. Still 67% rostered if you need a shortstop in shallower leagues. We were talking up Brendan Rodgers a ton yesterday, Chris. If you play in Dynasty, would you rather Rodgers or Adames?
Rodgers is younger than Willy Adames, but it's not like a dramatic difference, right? Rodgers is 24, Adames is 25. I certainly find it pretty surprising that Willy Adames is only 25. He'll turn 26 in a couple of months. I think I would still go Rodgers, but Adames has certainly made it closer, and I really do buy what he's doing. I think, looking ahead, I think he could be a top 12 shortstop, for dynasty purposes. I really do think that. I'll give Rodgers the edge because One, I don't think we've seen the impact of Coors Field on his numbers yet. You know, you look at his expected numbers, they actually mostly mesh with what he's done, which usually you would expect to see much, much better numbers at Coors Field than their expected numbers. So, yeah, 736 OPS at home. I think that's probably going to be more like 900 moving forward. So I'll go with Rogers, but it's much closer than I would have thought of.
All right, let's quickly hit two more of these. Would you rathers? The first one I have, a pair of Marlins, Jesus Sanchez or Garrett Cooper in a 5 outfielder league. They both had solid games, actually pretty good games on Wednesday. Garrett Cooper 3 for 3 with a double dong, and Jesus Sanchez went 2 for 4 with his 3rd home run of the season. 434 feet was that home run for him. They are both available in over 60% of CBS leagues, Chris. So Sanchez or Cooper in a 5 outfielder league?
I think it's got to be Sanchez. Just a much more exciting skill set, a much more interesting profile. And just like he is so talented or so physically gifted. I don't know what the right way to put it is because he's one of those guys who doesn't quite put it all into action in games. But man, when he gets a hold of one, he crushes it. He's got a lightning quick bat. And so I just think Cooper in a 5 outfield, 12-team league, it's like you're hoping you can get a couple good weeks out of him before you have to find someone else. Whereas Sanchez, if he figures it out, could be really good.
Yeah, if he finds that level of consistency, because you're right, Chris, you see it. And just watching him play, I watch him a lot. I've mentioned this before. I have him in Scott White's Dynasty League. So I'm obviously rooting for Jesus Sanchez. I watch a lot of his at-bats. The kid has swag. He has confidence at the plate, which is really interesting for a young player who got demoted last year, who was like absolutely awful, right? So when he connects, he still hits a lot of ground balls. When he connects, the ball can go a long way. Strikes out quite a bit. I want to see him walk more, but definitely an interesting profile there for Jesus Sanchez. Last one here. If you're in a deeper league and you need a middle infielder, Elvis Andrus, his last 32 games, kind of under the radar here. 278 batting average, 2 homers, 5 steals. He has a 33% line drive rate during that stretch. And then Jace Peterson, who hit a home run off of Jacob deGrom on Wednesday. His last 15 games, Jace Peterson, 410 batting average, 2 homers, 2 steals. Deeper leagues, Elvis Andrus or Jace Peterson?
I think it's probably got to be Andrus, which is been a long time since somebody said that. Neither of them has a ton of potential, but Andrus, I think, is a better bet for stolen bases, at least.
All right. We had a bunch of dingers on Wednesday. Let's just quickly go over some of these. Joey Gallo, man. Oh, my gosh. Double dong. He hit 900 plus feet worth of home runs in this game. He now has 23 home runs total, 10 home runs over his last 10 games.
You're falling. How many swings at a batting cage? I'm not even talking off a major league pitcher. Just someone tossing, like, we go out to Citi Field next week. I'm just tossing you BP. How many swings do you think you need to get 900 feet worth of batted balls?
At least 10.
I'm thinking that, yeah, because there's going to be some that you just swing and miss at.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be some that you just foul off. Yeah.
Man.
Joey Gallo, better at hitting baseballs than Frank Stanfield.
Yeah, who would have thought, man? It's crazy. Ronald Acuna went 3 for 5 with his 24th home run. Bo Bichette, 3 for 5 with his 16th home run of the season. Batting average now up to 295 for Bo Bichette. His last 32 games since the start of June, a 346 batting average for Bo Bichette during that stretch. Juan Soto has a home run in back-to-back games. He's now up to 11. He had a 3-run shot off of Chris Paddack. Seems like anyone can do that nowadays. Aaron Judge hit his 20th home run, which we played for you earlier. Poor John Sterling. His last 15 games for Judge, 310 batting average with 5 homers. So he is heating back up. Matt Olson hit his 21st. Jose Altuve hit his 19th. Kyle Tucker hit his 14th. Franmil Reyes hit his 13th. Lastly, 2 players that are bouncing back. Justin Turner hit his 14th home run. He's batting .396 over his last 15 games. Jesus Aguilar went 2 for 4 with a double and his 14th home run of the season. Nice to see Jesus Aguilar.
Walk-off.
Yeah, 3-run walk-off dinger for Jesus Aguilar. There was a bunch of other stuff here, some leftovers. Anything else that is imperative to get to? Michael Wacha was really good. 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 17 swinging strikes. So he's not a must add. Maybe if you're playing a deeper league, you want to take a shot on him, but throw him on the scout team. Let's see what happens with Michael Wacha. Anything else? Lance Lynn, great again. 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. Luis Arias hit 2 home runs across the doubleheader. He's only 48% rostered. One of those came off of Jacob deGrom. We've talked a lot about the Brewers guys recently, so he's still floating around there in a ton of leagues. Luis
that
Arias
was off like a 99 mile per hour elevated fastball too. That was an impressive swing.
for sure. Zach Wheeler had a pretty rough start against the Cubs. 5 2/3, 8 hits, 7 runs. 4 of those were earned. The dreaded Phillies defense behind him continued to let him down. He allowed 4 hard hit balls in this game, and he had a 400 BABIP against. Not worried at all.
Yeah, you sometimes just run into one like that. Like that just happens.
The call to the pen, some bullpen updates for the Reds. Heath Hembree got his 4th save of the season. Mentioned yesterday, I don't want to mess with the Cincinnati Reds bullpen, but if you do, Heath Hembree.
Yeah.
Yes. For the Tigers, Gregory Soto pitched 2 innings for his 7th save. Jose Cisnero was used in the 7th inning. For the Royals, the last 2 saves have gone to Scott Barlow. Spoke about that over the weekend. Starting to gain some confidence in him. Then he's used in the 7th inning on Wednesday with a 2-run lead. He promptly allows 3 runs to score. So there you go. Kansas City Royals. It's been a mess all season. A lot like the Cincinnati Reds. For the Brewers, Josh Hader had his first blown save of the season. He allowed a solo shot to Jose Peraza. Raisel Iglesias got his 18th save. For the Marlins, Yimi Garcia was used in 3 of the last 4 days. So Anthony Bender, who's been really, really good this season. Garcia continues to struggle, or if he's traded away, whatever. I think Bender probably gets a shot to be the closer for the Marlins.
Yeah.
He gave up a game-tying home run to Zach McKinstry. So do with that what you will. And then for the Astros, Ryan Presley got his 16th save. And I just saw in the Giants game, Jake McGee got his 17th save of the season. Tyler Rogers was used in the 8th. Hold on a second. The Yankees game just went final, Chris. They won in a 1-run game. Who do you think got the save for the Yankees? I haven't pulled up the box score yet. Who do you think it was? Was it Chapman?
I'm going to say it was Chapman. No.
I don't think it was.
It was Chad Green.
Chad Green for
2
the New York
strikeouts.
Yankees. Domingo
Ramon pitched in the bullpen today.
Yeah, so he had the procedure done, the root canal. I was watching the game, obviously. And then so he arrived late to the stadium after getting root canal, and then he came in relief, which is like, why would you pitch the same day that you have a root canal? Like, I don't know, just take a couple of days off, man. Figure it out. So he tried to tough it out, but whatever. Yeah, he pitched in relief. No Aroldis Chapman in this game, given all of his struggles recently. I think it's a 15 ERA since the start of June. Not used at all in this game. Chad Green picks up his 3rd save of the season. Someone you probably should look into adding if you play in categories leagues. Chris, what do you think about handcuffing Aroldis Chapman with Chad Green?
I think it's worth, taking a flyer on Chad Green. He's a very good reliever. And, I don't expect the Yankees to move away from Aroldis Chapman if he can figure it out. I think their strong preference would be to keep him there. But, if he can't figure it out, then it's not really going to come down to choice. So, Chad Green's certainly got an opportunity.
Chad Green is 22% rostered on CBS right now. To stream or not to stream for Thursday, JT Brubaker at the Mets, Adbert Alzolay versus the Phillies, Adrian Hauser versus the Reds, J Happ versus the Tigers, Chichi Gonzalez at the Diamondbacks, and Jake Faria, former Tampa Bay Ray. That's right, he's back, versus the Rockies. You only have to choose one, Chris, because they're bad.
Alzolay. He's the only one.
I think Scott said JT Brubaker yesterday.
Yeah, I could see Brubaker, but Alzolay is the only one I would have any confidence in.
All right, so between Scott and Chris, you get 2. Brubaker and Adbert Alzolay. For Friday, Alex Cobb, man, what a guy. He's at the Seattle Mariners. Jordan Lyles versus the A's. Cole Irvin at the Rangers. Zach Thompson versus the Braves. Shane McClanahan. How is he still under 70% rostered? I don't understand. He's going up against the Blue Jays and Brad Keller at Cleveland.
I mean, you don't love the matchup against the Blue Jays, and I wouldn't blame people if they didn't want to stream McClanahan. But
no, just add him.
Pick him up anyway.
Don't start him in this.
Don't start him against the Blue Jays. Yes. Thompson, kind of the same thing, not nearly to the same level, but I'd be a little wary of starting him against the Braves, but given what he's shown, if you do need a starting pitcher for Friday, I like him. And then, Alex Cobb against the Mariners, must start. Superstar.
I like Cole Irvin at Texas. Chris, the last time you did this with one of these streamers, it was John Gant, and we all saw how that ended. So I'll just throw it out there.
Alex Cobb's gonna be great.
All right, I hope so. Some Apple Podcast review questions. We do appreciate everyone who leaves a 5-star review on Apple. You drop a question in a review, we will answer it on a future podcast. This one is from T Mar. In a points league, I have had the Yerminator. Well, this must have been a while ago. I'm sorry, buddy. Yermin Mercedes as my catcher. Who do you prefer to replace him with? Omar Narvaez?
Omar Narvaez.
Okay.
Just keep going. Yeah. Just Omar Narvaez.
Narvaez ahead of McCann, Zanino, and Tyler Stevenson. This next one's from Zopilo. Grade the trade. Received Shane Bieber, traded away Chris Bassett and Giovanni Gallegos.
Am I missing something?
Well, we still don't have a timetable for
sure. But like Bassett's fine. I think he's pretty good, but you take the chance that Bieber gets healthy and pitches like himself, because Bassett can be a good pitcher, but Shane Bieber can be the kind of guy who leads you to a championship if you can get him for that cheap.
All right. So take that advice, something you should be looking into doing in your leagues. Some emails, fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. That's the letter I. From Zachary, was hoping you could grade the trade for me in this keeper league. Chris, this is a loaded trade, so get ready. Eloy Jimenez, Kyle Tucker, and Lucas Giolito for Corbin Burns, Carlos Rodon, Alex Bregman.
I think it's like a C-. I don't love it for your side, just because as much as I do like Burns and Rodon in redraft, I mean, Burns is a top 6 pitcher for me. Rodon is a top 20. And Bregman's awesome. You're talking about 2 pitchers who have had, Corbin Burns has had about 120 really good innings, and Rodon's had about 80 right now. So not a lot of track record there. Whereas, you're giving up what I think is a better pitcher long-term and 2 young stud hitters. So I don't love it. In a dynasty, dynasty or keeper league, I would always rather be the team getting 2 young stud hitters rather than 2 young stud pitchers.
Yeah, I think this is close to a fair trade.
It's fair.
Yeah, I think Giolito versus Burns is actually really close in a keeper league, I think.
Sure.
Moving forward. But yeah, for the reasons you mentioned, I think I would probably prefer to have kept that side. So C, maybe C-. I think you're right on there, Chris. From Justin, Michael Conforto was just dropped in my league. Would you drop Alex Kirilloff, JT Brubaker, or Nick Pivetta, or leave him on free agency? I have a really good pitching staff, but need outfielders.
I'd be fine dropping any of the 3, but my preference would probably be to drop Brubaker.
I'm all right dropping him or Pivetta.
Yeah, either one.
But yeah, I mean, you're going to get more wins with Pivetta. So yeah, drop JT Brubaker. Last question here. This one's from Patrick. Was wanting to see what you guys think long-term. The long-term value of Trevor Rogers is in a keeper or dynasty league. So with a potential innings limit starting sooner rather than later, wanting to see what that outlook is. Should we look to trade him soon if you are a contender, or is he a long-term building block? So this is interesting because we talk about it a lot from redraft, where Rogers and Rodon, maybe Julio Urias, Freddie Peralta, these are all names that we keep bringing up that might have an innings limit at some point. But this is asking about a keeper or dynasty league, Chris. So it's a little bit tougher. If you are playing for this year, would you look into trying to maximize Trevor Rogers' value? However, he could be a building block for years to come in that format, in a keeper or dynasty league.
We don't have to play hypotheticals with that one. I have traded Trevor Rogers in a keeper league, and you have acquired Trevor Rogers in a keeper league. And look, he's a young pitcher who's never shown he can pitch at this level for a full season. And so, I have questions about how the velocity holds up. because, he's been clearly much better since he had that velocity spike at the start of this season. Does that hold up? I don't know yet. I hope so. I'd like to think it will. He's top 10, I believe, in ERA and FIP this season. He's been really good. But as far as dynasty, I think he's a sell high candidate because he's a pitcher and he's a young pitcher and he's a young pitcher who's never done it for a full season. And even in the minors, I don't know if he's ever thrown more than 140 innings. I want to say it's his career high. 136. So I have real questions about what the long term is going to look like for Trevor Rogers. And I mean, just as a general rule, there is no long term for young pitchers. You can't think you can't look at Trevor Rogers and say, I feel confident that I'm going to get something from him in 2024. You just can't. There's too much that can go wrong. You hope he does it, but right now, I think he's a sell high candidate as much as I do like him.
Yeah. And look, he's awesome. There's no doubt about that. He's allowed 3 runs or less in every start this season for Trevor Rogers. And I think if you are competing this season, much like Chris is in the Scott White Dynasty League, where he traded him to me, you should look to sell high. Try to get a nice return for him. And I gave Chris Jose Barrios and Lourdes Gurriel, especially in a 24-team league, that's a pretty damn good return. I think I also gave you Drew Smiley, but it's just super hard to find pitching in that league. And there are salary cap values in play here as well. But if you can turn Trevor Rogers into another top 25 starting pitcher like Jose Barrios, who you don't have concerns about with the innings rest of season, and a top 35-ish outfielder, then I think that's a pretty good return. Maybe you can even try for a little bit higher than that. But especially given his age and what he's done this season, I think you should ask for a good amount in return for Trevor Rogers. We're going to wrap there for Chris. I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.